evening, viewers. This is the fabulous Cable 10 televised coverage of the Coles Adams Select Hockey Tournament. It's sponsored by the Humber Valley Hockey Association. We have with us two dignified gentlemen representing the association. Fred Breeze, who was president the first year the tournament began. Good evening, Fred.
Good evening.
And we have with us also Roman Winnicke, who is the president of this year's, or the chairman of this year's tournament.
Thank you, Steve. Hello, everybody.
I thought first, Fred, I should ask you, 3 years ago, when you were the president of the Humber Valley Hockey Association, and a bunch of guys sat around and decided they were going to do something special, what were you aiming to achieve, and have you achieved that?
Well, what we were aiming to achieve is just what's happening here tonight. I think that every organization has the aspirations of putting on a tournament like this, and we did it. And the credit has to go to people like Roman Winnicke and John Magwood and Steve Magwood, as far as that goes, for all the work that they put into it, and all our volunteers. And yes, it is turning out to be exactly the way we thought it would.
Well, that's complimentary, and it's great for the kids. We've seen about 1,000 kids going through so far in the first 3 years.
Well, there's been a lot of boys. I think they've all enjoyed themselves. It's a first-class tournament, and I think this year proves that by having almost the same group of boys back as what played last year, and the number of teams that are repeats. So I think it's working.
We think so. Now, Roman, as a chairman in its third year, what particular challenges do you run into?
Well, I must say that with the work that the organization did in the first 2 years, there are very little challenges this year. Everything was running very smoothly. As everybody knows, it's a volunteer organization, and everybody pitched in, and it went very smooth. So
that's great. Well, we've got a lot of 10-year-olds in the house leagues out here. They're select players, and they're having a good time, and their esteem is high. Perhaps we should take it to the booth upstairs. We have John Magwood and Mike Carruthers commentating for us. Up to the booth.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the third annual Coles Adams Select Tournament. We are about to watch the final championship game between East York as the visiting team and North Toronto as the home team. North Toronto is the defending champion from the 1985 tournament. With me in the booth is Mike Carruthers.
Thank you, John. We're here today. They're announcing the names of the players on the ice at the present time. And maybe we should try and just hear the announcement that's going on the ice.
Good idea.
Number 2, Jim Stamatopoulos. Number 17, Paul Hine. Number 3, Ryan Edwards. Number 6, Severio Zupo. Number 11, Darryl Dugwell. Number 8, Troy Woodbine. Number 9, Julian Holland. Number 10, Kevin Stewart. Number 7, Jeff Campbell. Number 12, Kim Paraskevopoulos. Number 14, Brian Roll. Number 15, Theo Zager. Number 16, Nick Alexopoulos. Number 4, Billy Grant. Number 30, Chris Henry. The home North Toronto team. Number 30, Chris Brianda. Number 2, Warren Black. Number 3, Dylan Young. Marcus Graham. Number 10, Toby Reed. Number 11, DJ Herbie. Number 12, Mike Wheatcroft. Number 15, Jeremy Lett. Number 16, Adam Glennie. Number 17, Clayton Waldron. Number 18, Ian Merringer. Number 19, Ram Sharkey. The officials for today's game are the linesmen from Humber Valley, Warren Wolf and Gary Forestier, and from the NHL, Mr. John D'Amico. With the two team captains, please come to center ice for an official face-off with Mr. John D'Amico.
Thank you very much. We do have it going. Both teams are now getting ready to have at each other. They both have taken a long route to get here. This is their 5th game this weekend.
Now for the national anthem.
It's a good-looking crowd we have for this game this afternoon. There's probably close to 200 people here in the arena to watch these two fine competitive teams of Toronto's House League Select. And I would have to think that the defending champion, North Toronto, would be the...
It would be the favored team today, I would think. East York had quite an upset. They upset Cawthra Park in the game before. Were outplayed probably the first 3 periods. When it came to overtime, they controlled the play, and it ended in a shootout. Both these teams have had to play 4 games to get this far. I was speaking to the coach of North Toronto, and all of his boys have already played 6 games in the past 2 days. This will be their 7th. They had 3 yesterday and 3 today, of course. So they're a little concerned about being overtired. But to date, this team has only lost 1 game. They have won their own tournament in North Toronto, and they lost to Caledon in the Caledon tournament. So they're going into the game very confident, and I know that East York has their work cut out for them, and they know it.
One of the outstanding features of the Toronto team is that their entire roster of some 16, 17 boys, 9 of them are returning from last year's team which won this particular championship. That, of course, because of the age change this year.
I understand, though, John, one of them, a fellow by the name of Nick, number 14, Brinkhew, has broken his fingers. And because of that, he hasn't been able to play in this tournament. That's kind of unfortunate. Getting back to John D'Amico, speaking to him before the game, a little history on him. He has been an NHL linesman and/or referee for the past 22 years, and feels better about when asked today, you know, if age was getting to him and he was slowing down. He says no, he feels better than ever. Spends a great deal of his time working out on off days, a lot of swimming, running in water, and finds that even though the NHL hockey players are younger today, they're really no faster than they used to be. His big concern with minor hockey today is sticks. He was saying that many years ago he was told as an OHA referee, don't worry about the odd elbow or the odd trip or whatever. He says, just watch the wood. And if you call all the penalties to do with sticks, you'll have complete control of the game. But he's saying that right now what's happening in the NHL is that the sticks come up, they're far too high, and no, there's the first goal. Now, this is really something. East York has scored the first goal, the underdogs. And as I said before, North Toronto might be a little tired, and East York know it. They're going out, and they're pretty excited here. Crowd starting to chant. All standing, of course, not sitting down. We'll see who got that goal in a moment here and how the assist went. But just amazing that East York at this point in time would take off like that. The goal was scored by East York's number 11, Daryl Dugwell, and assisted by their number 10, Kevin Stewart. That's quite an effort in the first couple of minutes of play to get a goal like that. Goaltending has played a very large part in this tournament to date. I've seen goaltenders here that could be playing certainly rep hockey in any organization. The semi-final games leading up to this championship game was where East York ended up having to go into a sudden death overtime period with Cawthra Park in a 2-2 tie. After that, they still didn't score a goal, and they had to settle it by a shootout, something we don't like to see, John, but once in a while happens. And that's how it was settled, but it was goaltending again that really won the game for East York. Penalties have not been a factor in any of the games played to date. There have been very few penalties called. Of course, at this Adam age group, which is 11-year-olds, there is no body checking. So if a boy is body checked, there's a penalty called. The referees today, as you heard in the announcements at the beginning of the game, 2 of them are our own Humber Valley House League referees, which have other duties as well as Humber Valley. Most of them do induct them referee in the MTHL. And we're pretty proud of our officials in Humber Valley. They do a darn good job. We've never had a complaint in this tournament, which is in its 3rd year. Oh, what a beautiful save again. If you saw that, the goalie just, that shot was taken by Jeff Clapp, number 4, and I'll tell you, Tommy Nanos, he just got his blocker on it, and up over the glass it went. These goalies have great concentration. There's no question about it.
No, they do. You're absolutely right. Thank you very much. I've been having a bit of a speaker problem. Lovely toe save by the goalie. Lovely. East York may be the dark horse in this tournament, but they are certainly proving that they have every business being in this championship final. They have a lot of desire, and they may be making up for a little less of the grand history that perhaps North Toronto sometimes displays, with just sheer determination and a legitimate team effort. There doesn't seem to be one hot individual out there trying to do everything.
I'll tell you, John, speaking to East York in the dressing room after their semifinal game, the kids were just hyper. I had difficulty even interviewing them. They were totally hyper, and whereas I went into the North Toronto dressing room and they seemed to be pretty confident. They said, there's no way we're going to lose this game. We've only lost one. And that might turn out to be a bit of a downfall for them unless they get it together here. Although I do notice now that a lot of the play is in East York's end.
Well, Toronto's maintaining a good overall pressure within the blue line, but they're not focusing it very much in front of the net at this stage. East York is being very successful at keeping the action well out to the sides, and so although it's busy at the East York end, there's no major threat yet.
Well, that's very true. But it's a long game. By the way, the first two periods in this game are 10-minute running time periods. In other words, the clock doesn't stop when there's a whistle. The boys then leave the ice for a short break, retreat to their dressing room and have some oranges, which, by the way, are donated by A&P. And then they come back out and play a 10-minute stop time period. In the event of a tie, there would be a 5-minute sudden death overtime. And if still at the end of that period there was no score, they would have a shootout. I don't want to see a game ending in a shootout. One today is enough. I'd rather see a game. I like it finished before overtime. Overtime's exciting, but it's pretty hard on these parents here who have spent most of the weekend at this tournament, and their emotions are running pretty high right now. Do you notice the jugs that North Toronto are using?
North Toronto's famous plastic jugs. Yes, indeed. They can make 100 people sound like 500 the way they make noise. A remarkably enthusiastic crowd. They're a delight, actually. Certainly the organizers of this tournament always get nothing but praise from the North Toronto people. Sometimes you wonder if a noisy crowd is also going to be a troublesome one, but not in the least.
Of course, North Toronto know how this tournament's run because they are the champions from our last tournament in 1985. This is the third year of the tournament. I think we mentioned that before. Maybe a little history on the tournament, John. The viewers might want to know.
Well, it was about 3 years ago that our then president, Fred Breeze, had a concept that perhaps we at Humber Valley, who have by and large been a pretty successful organization, should, there's a tripping penalty coming up to Toby Reed of North Toronto. It certainly wasn't deliberate, but unfortunately it was a trip.
I think he just wanted John D'Amico to make that call.
Well, he certainly got John's attention quickly enough.
That's true.
And I'm sure that he won't argue with the grand old man himself. But Fred Breeze suggested that perhaps we could be doing something for the hockey community. We had a big organizational base of almost 200 volunteers, and surely there was something constructive that we could be doing outside of our own bounds of the House League and MTHL operations. Long story made short, I wound up getting involved, being asked to do a feasibility study, which I did over 6 or 7 months, came back to the board with a series of recommendations. They were adopted by our governing body. We then struck a committee that included, in its original form, Doug Peter as secretary-treasurer, and Court Connolly to help with signage and so forth. We had Peter Ball to help recruit all the teams for that initial tournament, and that was no small job when nobody had heard of the tournament before.
But it was that initial tournament which has led to our success today, having that first grand tournament. We have people lined up at the door to get into it today.
Yes, we have a waiting list every year now. You're absolutely right. All right, we have now the end of period 1. The score is East York 1, North Toronto 0, and holding. everybody seems to be taking just a moment's breather here before getting the second period underway.
Maybe I can just comment. I was speaking to two of the players on North Toronto. Number 18, Ian Merringer, and number 10, Toby Reed. And they were saying that what they want to do in this game is get more shots than they've had before and really keep the puck in East York's end. I have to admit they tend to be doing that, keeping it in their end, but they're not getting a great deal of shots.
Now, East York is... I'm having trouble putting words to the exact system they're using, I'll be frank with you, but they keep seeming to get the job done.
That's for sure. They're a good hockey club. Both these clubs. To get to the finals in this tournament, you have to be a good hockey club.
Yeah.
But
Well,
we can't say enough about the coaching, too. Coaching of all 16 teams that were in this tournament has just been superb. Players are playing position. Defense has been marvelous, again because of their positional play, and that has to stem from the coaching.
Well, the East York coach, Charlie Rutherford, has been with their organization and with this age group, generally, of kids for quite a number of years. I think it's 11 or 12 years. He is going to be helping them in a slightly different capacity next year by taking over an MTHL team for East York.
Well, this is his third year in this tournament, I believe.
Third year out of 3 years running. I'm going to miss him. He's a delight to deal with, although I wish when he has a team with 2 sets of sweaters, that he would have the same numbers on the same sweaters for the same kids. We wind up changing our program book all the time. The North Toronto coach has been with them now, Scott Moore, for about 7 years, I believe, but he's always worked with the older boys. This is his first year coming down and working with Atom Age players. He didn't expect just how much fun it was going to be, and he was telling me he's really become tremendously enthusiastic about this particular group of boys. He's really quite thrilled to be with them. And he's got his work cut out for him right now, although one of the interesting...
That's true, John. They have got their work cut out for them right now as coaches. But let's look at the scoreboard. I mean, it's 1-0 for them at the present time, so they seem to be doing quite a job here. There's no question about that. I believe that's the first penalty that's been called so far in the 3. Oh, is that a goal or not? Yes, it was. No, it wasn't. John D'Amico was right on the doorstep, and he said the goalie saved it as he gives him a tap on the head. He also tapped the player who shot the puck on the head. A little reassuring tap from John.
Well, he gets a particular thrill out of these youngsters, and certainly it's something for them to look forward to have an NHL official. But my goodness, he covers the ice quickly.
He sure does that.
And he's always so well tanned. I hope the NHL officials aren't complaining about being underappreciated.
Well, this game is certainly not controlled by one team. Both teams are playing extremely well. I think it might come down to goaltending before it's over. You have to remember, too, North Toronto is the incumbent. They are the champions.
Well, here's North Toronto, Joe, trying to headman the puck. That's something they have been good at through most of this tournament. Although in their game against Forest Hill was able to shut down a lot of that ability of North Toronto to so quickly and instantly put pressure up the middle. But they're coming around the right wing now. Excellently blocked. Excellent defensive maneuver by East York. I can't tell the boy's number, but... And East York is...
Oh, there's an
getting
icing
ready
call.
to have an
No
icing.
question about it. There's the hand up, down to the other end. These fans are just going crazy here. They're just having a great time. Missing their dinner and shaking their buckets, their plastic bottles with their coins or stones in them.
Yep. Well, they're doing They're some of the greatest fans I've ever seen. Certainly the noisiest. All right, North Toronto up. Dribbler just about, but excellent blockage by the goaltender.
That's for sure. And there's North Toronto now. That puck's just flinging around there.
Well, certainly North Toronto's got the pressure on right now. East York is trying to come around the outside, but North Toronto should be able to get it. Oh, a missed cue.
Yeah.
Oh, careful. East York
just keeps firing that puck in, and that's what you do. You fire it in and go after
it. That's right. All right, they're going to have to retreat.
Everybody's a little too over-ambitious.
He should have gone behind him. He didn't know that he had a winger open there. But here comes an opportunity. If he can convert it. Oh, excellent defensive maneuver. Excellent. Squoze him out very well. All right, here's North Toronto with one of their famous there they are, head-manning the puck, and they should be able to shove it in pretty quickly. Yep, East York had covered up.
There's that goalie, that stand-up goalie that just stands there and blocks all the shots.
Even older goalies seem to have this tremendous tendency to want to go down closer to home somehow.
Well, even in the National Hockey League today, goalies tend to go down an awful lot.
That's true.
We used to talk about Palmatier going down. He used to play for the Leafs. But still, the best goalie is a stand-up goalie, and certainly we have two of them here today.
Well,
we're coming down to the...
excellent. Excellent scoring opportunity, excellent goaltending, and here's North Toronto maintaining that pressure, and there's going to be a penalty call. Mr. D'Amico.
I don't think it was a penalty. I think the puck was knocked down by a high stick, John. That's what it was.
Good.
We're used to watching our referees, which maybe aren't quite as demonstrative as John is with his arms.
I suppose that's true. Well, certainly one comment I've received an awful lot of during this tournament, and I'm sure you have too, Michael, is the objectivity and the uniformity of the refereeing throughout the tournament, and most teams would willingly subscribe to that on a consistent basis. There's the North Toronto crowd again. People are starting to hang over the edges. Fewer people are sitting. There's 2 minutes and 50 seconds left in the second period. And then they'll get their little break and get one of the A&P oranges to chew on for a couple of minutes.
Both of these teams end up with trophies at the end of the game. Of course, the gold trophies go to the winning team, and the silver trophies go to the losing team. They also end up with a free CCM sports bag donated by CCM.
That's absolutely right. And another thing we're delighted to be able to do this year is that at the end of every tournament, 2 banners are made. One to hang in our own home of Central Arena.
Look at this. Look. Oh, sorry for interrupting, John. Oh, right in front of the net.
That was quite a spinorama move by the North Toronto player. It didn't quite work, but it was an excellent move.
Another good save.
All right, there's a save.
One thing I like about this tournament, too, is that, you know, the goalie, they stop the puck and you don't get all these players going into them.
We're going to cut away now for an interview, Mike.
Okay.
This is Mark O'Regan back down at rinkside in the second period of our exciting championship final between North Toronto and East York. East York's hanging on to a narrow 1-0 lead. And at this time, I have the mother and father of the only goal scorer in the game, Kerry Dugwell, and his parents are with me, Pat Dugwell and Ken Dugwell.
Hi.
Enjoying the tournament?
Oh, yeah, it's been great.
Is this the first goal in the tournament that Kerry's got so far, Pat?
No, it isn't. He scored 2 in the first game.
So he's on a roll.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
How many years have you been playing with East York in the house league?
Oh, he's been going since he's about 5 years old. He's about 5 years, I guess.
About 5 years already. Do you think you're going to stand 5 more of this every weekend and night?
Certainly. I enjoy it.
I don't know myself.
This is the first year that, of course, your son's with the team in this tournament.
Yes.
But East York's been a visitor for the last few years.
Yes, they've been here the last 2 years anyhow, I know.
Do you think the boys are going to be a little bit tired tonight after a little bit of hockey today?
They sure are.
Well, they got to be. They've been going, what, 5 games in 2 days or 6 games. They had a house league game yesterday, too, so.
Well, congratulations to Terrell when you see him after the game, and I hope you hold on.
Thank you.
I think we'll go back up to the booth.
Thank you.
To Mike and John. Thank you very much.
We've had some pretty exciting action in the last minute. While you and I have not been on the air, North Toronto's been putting incredible pressure on. Breakaway opportunity with a spectacular save by East York. There's 4 seconds left in the period. It looks like East York is going to go into the break, and they do, with still that 1-0 lead, the slimmest of margins.
We have some pretty dejected North Toronto players right now. I think they expected to walk away with this. That's what makes good hockey, is when it's close, and it sure is close. It's 1-0.
Well, it's a delightfully exciting game. East York deserves an enormous amount of credit. They need to do it for 10 more minutes of stop time, and they will have won.
Well, that's just great. This hockey just makes all the effort that goes into this tournament worthwhile.
Well, thank you very much, Mike. We're going to take a break now, and we will return shortly for the third period.
We're down at ice level at Steve Magwood with John D'Amico, who's helping out as a linesman at the final game of the Coles Adams Select Hockey Tournament.
All right, no, I'm the referee today.
Oh, you're a referee today?
Yeah, well,
Good.
that's what I'm doing out there. You watching the game?
No.
Should be out there. It's a good hockey game. The kids are playing really, really good.
Is there anything particular about the house select games that you see differently from any of the other games?
I don't see any other games. This is the first minor hockey league game I've seen in a long time. I don't work in this particular league.
We've noticed that. In the NHL, naturally there's a different standard of play, but do you notice a different relationship between the players from in the house leagues?
Oh, the kids want to win. In the National Hockey League, they want to win also. It's the bottom line. They're trying their very, very best out there. It's the same way as the NHL. You know, someday these kids, you know, will be in the NHL if they try hard enough. It's, you know, their ultimate or their gold, depending on where it is, whether it's to go to school or whether it's to play in the National Hockey League. I hope they take the school first and then the National Hockey League second.
Well, the self-esteem that the kids gain through tournaments like this perhaps can help them in their schoolwork.
That's very, very true. You know, you win and lose, and there has to be a winner, and if you win properly and you lose properly, you gain a lot of respect.
Well, respect, I think, is what the kids are after, certainly with each other and with their parents. And it's a big kick for them to be refereed by an NHL professional.
Well, it's their game. I'm just fortunate that the National Hockey League, through Scotty Morrison and John McCauley, allowed me to come over and do the game. And it's a thrill for me to come in and do it. You have to know where your roots were. My roots started with these little guys, so I don't mind coming back at all.
Were you a Humber Valley player yourself?
No, I wasn't. But I only played minor hockey, but I refereed when I first started in the CYO, and I feel that I should ever come back at least once a year anyways to help out in any way I can.
Well, it's a pleasure for the boys to see you out here, and again, thank you very much, John D'Amico.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we'll be going into the third and final period of the very final championship game for Coles Adams Select Hockey Tournament. It's sponsored by or hosted by the Humber Valley Hockey Association with a total of 16 teams participating, and you can certainly hear the East York crowd. They're up for their final.
Well, Michael, here we are. The third period is about to begin. 10 minutes of stop time. East York is ahead 1-0. Hanging on.
Look at these kids. They're wound up. I'll tell you, they came out of that dressing room just hunting for bear.
They certainly are, although Charlie Rutherford, the East York coach, looks like he's taking his own sweet time.
Well, I understand he has to work all night. He's on shift work, and he works the whole night tonight, so maybe he's trying to catch a little shut-eye in the meantime. But these teams, they are wound up. They're ready to go. Here comes the referees on the ice now, and we're going to have this third period underway. And there's no question about it. It's been a goaltender's game. Before the game, Charlie was saying that he was going to split the goaltending duties, start off with Tommy Nanos and then go to Chris Henry. But Chris is not seeing any action. At this point in time, he can't afford to make a goal or change because right now it's been Tommy Nanos who has kept them in the game. He has just been fantastic.
He's had an absolutely exceptional series, and in this game in particular, he made some absolutely outstanding plays in the first and second periods. He deserves to be there. He is an absolutely delightful young fellow, and I'm wishing both teams extremely well. One of the things we may be seeing, Mike, is which boys and which coaches were able to make the best advantage of that break between the periods to organize just what they want to do and how they're going to get it done.
Sometimes it's an advantage, and sometimes it's an advantage if you're losing. If you're winning, sometimes it's a disadvantage. There's no question about it. Your boys can cool off. But I don't know, everybody looks raring to go here.
Well, North Toronto is putting the pressure on.
Oh.
A big, heavy shot.
These shots are hard and high.
These boys are really winning. Here comes North Toronto again, and the tip.
What a save. There it is.
Goal.
Tied up the game.
Right at 9 minutes and 30 seconds left of the third period.
Can't blame Tommy for that.
No, he was left all alone that time. He took care of the first save, and it was sitting out there loose. It's unfortunate for Tommy. He's got his head bowed right now, but I'm sure just to collect himself.
Well, the goaler can only be expected to make the first save. As I say, sometimes that break in between the game, it helps the losing team. They can put their thoughts together, and the winning team sometimes cools off. Here they come again, North Toronto.
Well, Adam Glennie has scored the first goal for North Toronto in this championship game.
By the way, Adam Glennie is Brian Glennie's son. Brian Glennie played quite a long career with the Toronto Maple Leafs. And he's in the stands today and carrying one of those plastic bottles we had talked about previously.
Well, Brian is, last year and this, has proven to be here as a regular fan and supporter of his son and team. His son apparently, though, is quite a different hockey player than his father.
No question about that. Of course, at this age level, you do not have body checking, and that was one of his father's fortes, is body checking. He was a good, strong defenseman. And, of course, his son is not a defenseman.
All right, the North Toronto is coming in again. Oh, excellently blocked, but East York is down. Number 6 is down for East York, Severio Zuppo. We hope he's all right.
Doesn't look like a serious injury.
No, he looks like he's getting up.
Already.
A little bit of a limp, but he's been hit a couple of times during the tournament, and he seems to make maximum mileage at the moment, but he's always back on the next shift.
Notice the sweater on these East York team. On the back, on the front, it has Shoppers Drug Mart, and on the back, it has the address of the Shoppers Drug Mart. There's no identification of as per the team they are, which is quite strange. There's North Toronto. They're just not giving up. They just keep coming.
No, they do indeed. Kicked forward, but good clearing defense there by number 7. But there's 4 East Yorks all close together. And if they're not careful, North Toronto is certainly going to... There it is. They've got advantage of it right now.
Right in the slot.
Shot was over the net, though. You're not going to score off in that way. That's unfortunate. But, oh.
No question about it. North Toronto is all over.
Oh, yes. East York is trying desperately to get control of the puck to be able to get it out of their zone. There they go. Right up through the center. All right, Troy Woodfine's trying to get in there to get something going, but North Toronto's coming right back. Stopped again. Playing a little bit of table tennis right now, back and forth. But the puck is still free. The referee can still see it. All right, it's back cleared over. East York has to get themselves organized again, make the rush.
There's Billy Krant, got the puck, trying to get it over to his center. These teams are really high on emotions right now.
Well, I think it's in part an attestament to the tournament itself that the boys do really want to do well. This is the 3rd time for a final game, of course, and the 3rd one that's been close, exciting, hard played. The boys are just giving everything they've got. They want to win those trophies, and that banner that goes into each arena after they win the tournament.
Well, the play started again here.
All right. John's able to stay out of the way, but if he's not careful, they're going to force the play to come right into his legs.
You know, speaking to Rutherford, the coach of East York, before the game, he says all we can hope
Here
to get
comes
against
North
this team
Toronto,
is
right down the middle.
offside.
And get a couple of players up off their knees. They're tired.
You have to remember, as we said before, that North Toronto, this is their 7th game in 2 days. They have to be tired, but the adrenaline's flowing and they are moving very quickly now. And again, they did win the tournament last year, and they might just be a little overconfident too. I think that's what happened in the first 2 periods.
Well, they're going to have to earn this victory. There's no question about it. They've come through some pretty tough competition, but every period is a new one and every shift within it, and they're going to have to pull it all together, as is East York. We are 5:49 left in the 3rd period. The score is tied between East York and North Toronto at 1.
Just a little aside, I was speaking to the coaching staff of North Toronto, Scott Moore and Kevin McAdams and Gord Lauren, and they were saying that one thing about their team, they carry 19 players, but they can't bench anybody, they can't short shift anybody, is because all players can come up big at different times. They don't have any one star. As proven if you look at the game sheets from the 4 games they've played here so far. The goals are evenly spread throughout the team. By the way, their record has been to date, if you're looking at goals, North Toronto in their first game beat St. Benedict's 6-2. In their second game, they beat Pleasant View 4-1. And they tied Forest Hill. Forest Hill in our first 2 years was always in the final, a fine team. And then they beat West Mall 4-1 in their semifinal game. Whereas East York, in their first game, beat Leaside 1-0, Warren Park 2-0, Queensway 7-2, and Cawthra Park 4-3. So again, it comes down to goaltending. Goaltending seems to be the story between these 2 teams. Actually, between most teams that have played in this tournament. Goaltending has just been superb.
Yes, the really successful teams have always had very low goals against. Here's a good try by North Toronto.
There's a save, there's another
now,
one.
If the goalie can get a hold of it, it's all plugged up in front of the net. If it gets through, anything can happen. Watch out.
Oh. I'll tell you, that was some save by Paul Hines there.
Yes, it was. He was able to turn around, find it in his feet. He's a little player, but he can be anywhere, anytime. He's a dynamic hockey player and a real credit to his organization.
No question about that.
Here comes North Toronto. They're doing a dump and run technique this particular time, just shooting it into the corner and hoping to keep it in. But there goes Troy Woodfine up the left wing. And he's passing to his center, Nick Alexopoulos, but offside.
Some of these names are kind of hard to say, aren't they, John?
Well, they keep you busy with a lot of syllables. There's no question about it.
I'm sure you can handle it, though.
Well, I've yet to find a name that I couldn't handle many times. All right, the play's all bunched up right now on the left side. It's about to be, nope, East York is able to keep it in. Good little backhand by, as I mentioned, Severio Zuppo, who's always back for his next shift. And, all right, North Toronto is alone.
The tides are changing here. East York is doing a much better job dumping it out, keeping it in the other end. Remember, in their semifinal game, they were totally outplayed the first 3 periods. When it went into overtime, they totally controlled the play. I think they only had 1 shot on net in the sudden death. So anything can happen.
All right, here comes North Toronto again. Big shot, but missing the net. And
next goal could be the game.
I think they're getting a little worried about Tommy Nanos, and they're trying to pick the corners almost too fine rather than just hauling off. Tommy, you probably get a lot of them, but they need to put more pressure on Tommy. If you give him a second to set up, he's in control. Here comes another rush with Troy Woodfine again, who seems to be one of East York's leading rush makers. But it was neutralized just inside the blue line, and we're trying again now. Julian Holland is getting all tied up, not able to make it through, so here comes North Toronto again. But East York is neutralizing him there in the central zone. Now it's a 1-on-2 in the corner, but East York has come up with it safely so far. And it looks like they're in a position to start bringing it out. Now, if he can get control of that puck, he may be able to start a rush. And Troy's having an awful lot of difficulty when he's working alone like that and being leaned on, which is perfectly legal.
We got some pretty tired hockey players right now. The only thing that's keeping them going is the excitement and the possibility of winning this tournament. Being so close with 2 minutes left to go in the game. Remember, if it's a tie at the end of the third, we go into a sudden death overtime, 5-minute overtime period.
That's right.
And if it's still tied at the end of that, we end up with a shootout. And I sure don't want to end this game with a shootout. I'd like to see it ended by a goal.
Absolutely. Teal Zagar just did an excellent clearing, but it could be icing, and it is. Michael, at this point, we're going to break away to do an extremely special interview. At this point, we'll just take a back seat. Take it away.
Hello, it's Steve Magwood again down at ringside. We have a really special guest this afternoon. Well, he's been here for most of the afternoon. Mayor Bruce Sinclair of Etobicoke. Hello, Bruce.
Hi, Steve. How are you?
Well, I'm fine. I'm having a great old time. My feet are even warm.
Yeah, it's good. Great game, eh?
Oh, it's been dandy. It's a 1-1 tie now. We've got less than 2 minutes to go in the final championship game. How's it look from your standpoint?
It's hard to call this one. East York and North Toronto, you know, the perennial front runners, especially North Toronto, always tough competition. And how this will end, I don't know. But the main thing is there's participation here, Steve. It's really exciting. 320 kids, 20 different teams. They've been here for 3 straight days. It must be really doing something for them, you know.
Well, they're having a gas of a time. Some of these boys behind us have been participating through the tournament. Hi, guys.
Hey, guys.
How you doing?
As a matter of fact, some of the Cawthra Park team, they just lost in the semifinals 4-3. The amateur sport in the Etobicoke area, and certainly the Humber Valley Hockey Association, has been big on your list. Have you found any particular aspects of self-esteem that find their way into the tournament such as this?
Well, I think that's the word that you've sort of singled out, and that's the word that is obviously foremost in this whole operation, this 3-day minor tournament, Bantam tournament, because how can they help but not feel better about themselves? They've got a pro referee, for the NHL referee for the last day of it. They've got gold judges and red lights that go on. They've got TV coverage, you know, and it's going to 1.5 million households in Metro. I mean, any kid that plays in this house league has got to think he's in the NHL.
Well, they're going to get the feeling. Of course, the key to the game is participation, it's self-esteem. The mayor will be involved with pins, plaques, and trophies for every kid in the closing minutes during final ceremonies. So I guess we'll see you in center ice next.
See you shortly, Steve. It's just been great being here.
That's super. Well, thank you, Bruce. We are now down in the final seconds. There's a whistle. There's 2 seconds to go. And it's a 1-1 tie. I think we're seeing overtime, Mr. Mayor.
How about that?
Thank you very much. Away from ringside.
We have 2 seconds left. You've been watching most of the play during the interview with His Honor Mayor Sinclair. But here we are with 2 seconds left. A very, very close play in North Toronto's end. But the North Toronto team has managed to retain control and will probably take this game into sudden death overtime. 2-1, that's it. We are now into sudden death overtime. You cannot get a closer championship game than that.
This is a 5-minute sudden death overtime. If at the end of that 5 minutes no one has scored, it will be settled by a shootout. The teams will each send 3 players out onto the ice to take shots at the opposing goalie, and that's how it will be determined.
It would be nice, of course, if we could avoid that kind of structure, but in minor hockey, we are dealing with fixed budgets. We are dealing with an allocation of ice from the city of Etobicoke. The MTHL schedule, in this particular case, does start in just over half an hour. We must complete the game within our contract. We do not have any alternative, so although we've built in enough cushion to allow for some overtime should we get into this situation.
Well, I'd just like to mention, too, I would like to thank Bill Elliott, the manager of Central Arena here, for being such a gracious host over the last 3 days. As Humber Valley, he's always very good to us, but the last 3 days he has been patient, and he has opened his building and his heart up to us, and we thank Bill Elliott very, very much.
Well, here we go.
The overtime. Here we go.
The face-off is about to go. There it is.
John
and
drops
we
the
go into the next goal wins, as long as it's within this sudden death overtime frame. The immediate pressure is by East York in the North Toronto end, and they are keeping it in, and they're shoving it into the corner, and there comes North Toronto now, and it'll be their turn. Oh, neutralized very quickly by number 7, Jeff Campbell, and chasing North Toronto back into their own end. North Toronto's going to have to be able to organize some form of triangle to get it out. Here they come down the right wing, but he's being pushed into the corner. He may not have much room to send it anywhere, but there are 2 Toronto players in the slot area.
What a save!
And
oh!
Tommy Nanos was by himself on that one. It was a perfect setup by North Toronto.
You notice they have left Tommy in, unfortunately, and I feel sorry for Chris Henry, but I can understand the coach. In this case, it's for all the marbles, and he's just too close to a win. Isn't it wonderful the way our 3 years that the tournament has run? We've always come down to 1 goal being the winning goal. This is the first overtime, mind you.
But you're absolutely right, Michael. Every championship game
breakaway
has been a 1-goal game. He lost the puck. He was hampered enough by the defensive play of North Toronto that he could not quite get control of it. Otherwise, we would have had quite a test of the...
that's Daryl Dugwell. Boy, he can really skate, that boy.
He was really flying there.
Small, too. He can skate. Here they come again. East York
has decided that they are going to try to win this without having to get to a shootout. They got into this championship game by winning a shootout. I think they don't want to wear it twice in one day. I don't blame them one little bit. A perfect headman pass, but not quite flat on the stick, and they lost it, East York. Theo Zagar has been able to clear it out. It's coming over Paul Hines, who's been able to get it out of their zone altogether.
Here comes North Toronto with another
high shot away from the
titillating
net.
shot is.
Yes, indeed. Well, we need Danny Gallivan here, I suppose.
I think so.
Really do want to, but East York is again putting the pressure on. Daryl Dugwell's off into the corner, though, to try to
shot from
make
the
some
point.
pressure.
Again,
an excellent drive and save. Both goaltenders are doing an absolutely excellent job. We have 2 minutes and 43 seconds left.
Don't like to say it, John, but I would like to see a goal. I really don't want to go to a shootout.
I agree with you. I agree with you completely. There's very few people sitting right now. Oh, a high tip almost, but not quite. The North Toronto's trying to get themselves organized. They've got the pattern set, but they're just not quite getting the puck control that they need to make these patterns work. But here they come right down the middle, which is their patented situation.
There's the goal.
And
North
the goal
Toronto has
high
won the
over the
tournament.
right shoulder. Tommy Nanos never realized exactly where it went. He's a very disappointed boy right now, but look at the excitement from North Toronto. They got pushed to the wall today by quite a margin. They had to tie earlier today and then go to overtime to win this particular game. Is Charlie Rutherford shaking hands with John D'Amico?
Well, there's no question about it. Everybody thought North Toronto would walk away with this game, but East York has made it a game. Now we're going to have some awards.
There's still a lot to go through yet, but Tommy Nanos is very upset, and it's too bad because he wears it in his heart, but he does not wear it in his team's heart. He did an absolutely astounding.
That was Brian
display.
Glennie who got the winning goal. It was Brian Glennie's son, by the way. John Adam Glennie.
Well, isn't that exciting? Well, there's hope for the Toronto Maple Leafs yet, I suppose. But maybe we just have to skip a couple of generations.
Well, we're going to have some awards now. Etobicoke Mayor Bruce Sinclair and Humber Valley's President Marco Regan are going down to present these awards. Each boy in the final game gets a trophy. The winning team, North York, gets a gold, and the losing team, East York, get a silver.
All right, the people that are starting to be seen now on the screen, you're seeing the traditional handshake, which is traditional with most leagues, but absolutely here in Humber Valley as part of our operating custom. The sportsmanship of these young fellows is absolutely wonderful. We now have some cameramen coming out onto the ice. It's getting to be a pretty busy ice surface. We've got photographers, the coaches, the players, and all of this they've got to do within about 10 minutes. There's an awful lot of presentations to make.
Making the presentations is the tournament chairman, Roman Winicki, Bruce Sinclair, Mayor of Etobicoke, and Mark O'Regan, President of Humber Valley Hockey Association.
Now let's just watch the official presentation of the actual Humber Valley Trophy. All right, now we see Roman Winicki presenting his sports bag to Charlie Rutherford, the coach of East York. In the background, you can see Court Connolly, who has been involved in the committee, and he was holding the large Humber Valley Trophy. He's now shaking hands with Charlie Rutherford, who has done, obviously, an absolutely marvelous job with his teams. There goes Charlie with his bag. Now you can see some of the East York team carrying their individual divisional championship trophies. And what an outstanding job that group of young people did. North York is obviously excited. They may have the habit of winning, but they haven't lost the excitement of winning. And you can now see there's North York going around with the official Humber Valley Cup. A magnificent cup it is. Unfortunately, they don't get to keep that. Every boy gets a pretty handsome trophy, as you can see, though. And their league will also receive a copy of that smaller trophy to keep in their case. And at an upcoming meeting of the North Toronto Association, we'll be going and presenting them with a banner to hang in their arena as well. Michael, thank you very much for working with me on this. It's been an absolutely exciting tournament.
Well, thank you very much, John. It sure has been fun, and I want to thank Coles, the book people, and I want to thank everyone associated with Humber Valley for doing just an outstanding job.
Okay, well, thank you very much. At this point, we bid everyone good night.